there's time for life in Cayce. Because of our location, we're so close to where people work. We have our river walk where people can enjoy being down in nature at the river. They can enjoy our parks. There is time for all the things that we love that makes life more worthwhile.
Hi, I'm Carter Ulmer here with Elise Parton, the mayor of Cayce. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Great, how are you?
It's great. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And just have a few questions for you today. So first of all, we've been learning a lot about Cayce and how the city government works. Can you tell us what your job all entails?
It's a great question. Lots of people ask me that. What does a mayor do every day? And that's an interesting question and a fun question because it changes every day. So if you have been in a park, if you have walked on a sidewalk, if you brushed your teeth this morning and had clean water come into your sink, and if you flushed the toilet this morning, all of those things have something to do with what we do. So in Cayce, we have our own water plant, our own wastewater treatment plant. We have our own museum. We have a parks and streets department, sanitation, you name it. We are a full service city here in Cayce.
All right. Is this the first time you've been elected in office?
It is. So I have never held another office other than mayor of Cayce. I was first elected 10 years ago, and I care about where I live. I love our city. We have a very stable population that's invested in our city and that wants it to be taken care of. We have a unique small town feel in the middle of this bustling region, and people connect to that identity of who we are. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure to take care of that small town feel and connection, and in the way that we grow. We have a number of generations that have lived here in Cayce, and our goal right now is to make sure that the next generation wants to be here as well.
A really popular question was, how many of these departments are there and how many do you personally oversee?
So that's an interesting question. We have a number of departments. So we have streets, parks, sanitation, planning and development, museum, public safety, water, wastewater, and several more. The interesting thing about our form of government, so there's 3 different forms of local government in South Carolina, and ours is one of the most prevalent ones. We're the same as Columbia, where the mayor and the council set policy, but we have a city manager that enacts that policy. So really, staff-wise, the only folks that we are over would be the city manager, the city attorney, the judge, and that's the gist of who we're over. Everybody else then falls underneath that city manager.
So how do you deal and organize with all the stress and things that come at you in your job?
Probably the same way you do with all the homework you have in different classes. It's really no different. I've given a TED talk on this subject, and I believe that at some point we all need to stand up and to serve our communities. It's something that we need voices from all different walks of life, folks in different careers, different types of folks standing up and saying they want to help out their community. We need that. So there's sometimes a whole lot to do, and sometimes it's very busy, but it's no different than organizing and prioritizing what folks do with homework or with their job every day.
All right. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
I think the most challenging part is that there's never enough money. So that's probably one of the biggest ones, and that we can't fix everything, even though we would like to. There are big things like stormwater management. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when most of the building was going on in our city, that how to handle what happens when it rains wasn't something that anybody thought about when they were designing buildings, and how close they were, and whether or not we let people build on what were wetlands. So this is really a multi-jurisdictional issue. Stormwater it's not just a city issue. It's the rainwater runs on either county-owned roads or state-owned roads, because the city really doesn't own any roads. and there's a federal involvement. So it really takes all of us to figure out how to fix these problems that are 40, 50 years old, but that impact somebody today. It may impact their house, it may impact their yard. Those things we want to fix, and we can't fix everything right now the way we would want to.
On topic of that, how many issues did you have with the 1,000-year flood when that happened?
That was a really tough thing to go through. We did about 100 rescues from people from either their vehicles that got stuck in floodwaters or from their homes. And thankfully, after that, we were quickly out of trouble and able to help our neighbors. We opened up our water line connects with Columbia so that they could have clean water. We sent our swift water rescue team to other parts of the community to help with rescues. So it was very hard, but I'm thankful that we fared very well and were able to help our neighbors.
All right. So with recent developments in crime in the nation and state, are you in constant talks with the authorities and different places to combat issues if they were to come up?
Absolutely. Luckily in Cayce, we have a very safe community. We're quite blessed. But our public safety does a whole lot of training. A cool thing to know about our public safety is most cities have fire and they have police. And what we have is public safety, and that means that our folks are dually trained. And so we do have a couple of dedicated firefighters, but otherwise all of our folks are dually trained to work on safety and serving and protecting the community, but also on fire prevention and management. It's pretty cool. So not only do they train well to be prepared for any trouble or problems that may arise in the city, but they also go to neighborhood meetings and make sure that folks know what's going on in the city, that they know how to be safe, that they know anything that they may need support-wise to make sure that they are safe.
It's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
No, that's the last one. Thank you.
All right. Ready? Okay. What are some of your long-term objectives to complete in Cayce?
You know, we are thankful in that for a small city, we have been able to do so much. We are just wrapping up a major project that we did in the city where we replaced 75% of the city's water lines. That's huge. If you saw on the news what was happening in Flint, Michigan with problems with their water pipes and thus water quality, we didn't have those problems, but we just made sure that the next generation will not have those problems as well. What that did do for us was also increase the water pressure, but that helps with fire suppression and fire prevention. It also, crazy enough, helps to lower homeowners' insurance rates.
Really?
Yes, because the better your community can serve you in safety and fire suppression, the less likely you're going to need your insurance. And so it's called, the technical term is an ISO rating. And so the better our ISO rating, the less homeowners insurance will be. So by us being proactive about our municipal responsibilities, such as water lines, we're actually saving our folks money and we're keeping them safer.
Well, I'm sure that's appreciated.
Absolutely, and adding to a better quality of life. In the future, we continue to work on, well, here's another cool thing. So in conjunction with that water line project, on one of our main corridors, on Knox Abbott Drive, we had done a study to look at how can we improve traffic calming and pedestrian safety. And so since we were going to go in on that street and tear up the sidewalks with this water line replacement plan, we said, hey, while we're there, let's just put it back in this better way according to this new plan. And so by being able to layer those plans, we've been able to do more with less money, which is a great thing.
Wondered where the sidewalk improvement came out of.
Yeah.
Seemed like
yeah.
it came out of nowhere. All right. So, as mayor, do you ever get a day off, in your opinion?
Mayoring is a lot like being a parent. Once you're a parent, you're always a parent. And so being mayor, there are quiet times, but sometimes crazy things happen. Sometimes there's just good things that are going on, either in the evenings or on the weekends. This weekend, we happen to have Tartan Day South, which is a Celtic festival that's here in the city, and that's a lot of fun. That's a good reason to get out and celebrate things in our community.
All right. To piggyback off of that, do you ever have your staff contact you late at night when you're at home if there's something was to come up that needed your immediate attention?
So my former city manager and I had a joke that she would, when there were emergencies, she has called me at 5:30 in the morning, and I'd pick up the phone and she'd say, "Hi, good morning, how are you?" And I told her, no. Just dispense with the pleasantries. You just can get right to it. If you're calling me at 5:30 in the morning, I know there's not a good there's nothing good. So what's going on? Is everybody okay? So we joked about that, and you kind of have to joke about the tough times. We've had some of our officers that have been hurt. We had one time where she called me early in the morning because somebody had hit a fire hydrant right outside of our water plant, and that busted the one main water line that fed water to the entire rest of the city. So we went 16 hours without water in our city. And the cool thing about that is, if there was something cool about that, was the two words that we heard the most throughout that whole process from our residents was thank you. It seems odd, right? But we communicated so much. We let people know what was going on. It was a really cold, freezing day, and I think most people probably turned on their taps and thought that their water pipes were frozen. But we quickly got word out and said, this is what's happening. Here's what the problem is. When we figured out by noon that we still weren't going to be able to get it fixed quickly, we worked on getting waters a bottle, and we bottled water, and we donated it to our residents. They could just come and pick them up, so they had water for taking medicines and for brushing their teeth and that type of thing. They knew that our staff were standing in knee-deep frozen mud trying to address the problem and working as hard as they could. But because we communicated so much in that crisis, people said thank you because they knew what was going on, and they knew we were working to fix the problem.
You've said a lot about communication through all this.
Yes.
Would you say that that's one of the main things, and also give us some more of the main things that you think is important when being in an office?
In elected office, I definitely think communication is very, very important. Transparency is critical. This is government that belongs to the people. So everybody has a right to know what's going on. We really try to, what we do is we call it over communicating in our city. We do simple things like every year we have to work through the budget, and as we figure out what that budget plan is going to be, we actually ask our sanitation workers to take a copy of that budget that we've given them, and they tape it to the trash can. Because what does everybody who live here has to do? They have to go and put their trash can up after it's been picked up. And so they get to see their budget. It means we're saving money because we're not mailing them to people. And it's not one more thing that you get in the mail and you go, oh my gosh, there's that junk mail. No, this is something that you get to see. It's a very cost-effective way for us to make sure that our folks know what's going on.
It's extremely innovative.
Yes.
Jade, could you hit the teleprompter? I don't have all the questions memorized. I'm so
That's okay.
sorry.
No.
All right. So changing gears just slightly, what do you and your family think is the best part about the city?
You know, my kids have grown up on the Riverwalk. I'd have to say that's certainly one of my favorites. We've seen blue-tailed skinks, heard the barred owls, seen snakes. gotten to see the, that's me.
It's you. I'm gonna hit snooze.
Yeah.
Stop.
Thank you.
You wanna
I'll
start that
do it
one
again.
over?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So do I need to reread the question?
I would reread the question.
All right.
Do you have time? Was that your, I have to
No,
go?
that's fine. No,
Okay,
that's fine.
all right.
All right. Brain fart. Sorry. Changing gears a little, what do you and your family believe is the best part of Cayce?
Well, my children have grown up on the Riverwalk. So they've gotten to see blue-tailed skinks and frogs and turtles and heard the barred owl. You know, most of us don't get to see those things, and there aren't that many places where those wonderful creatures live, but they do at the Riverwalk. And that's a place where you don't need any money to go. You just need to go. It's available for everybody. That Riverwalk is special. It's a place that will not be developed. You get to see all different kinds of tree growth, the blue herons on the river. You can see the fish. It's a really peaceful place, but also one that people use to be healthy and to be energetic.
We actually had an interview set up with Wade Gettings, the chainsaw artist. Have you
Yes.
been in contact with him?
Not recently, but I was the one who got him to work with our Beautification Foundation to create these unique pieces of art. It was kind of modeled after these sculptures that are in an underwater national park that's in Florida. And so people can go and scuba dive around these amazing pieces of art. And they were amazing when they were created. But then when they were placed under the water, this stunning marble face then became covered in urchins or different, underwater creatures, and they became even more fascinating. And so we thought, well, instead of putting an installation piece of art that needs to be dusted or protected or taken care of, let's put something that's made out of the natural components of the Riverwalk. So that's why you see this great alligator that's made out of a fallen log, and you see the raccoons and the owls and the huge bear that you can just go up and sit on or hug. They'll change throughout time, and we know that, but that's part of the unique nature of what's down in the Riverwalk.
So, were you born and raised in Cayce?
I was actually born in Charleston, but I have been in Cayce longer than I have been in my my birthplace. I actually came to Cayce when I was in college, and then stayed throughout grad school, and then my husband and I bought our house in Cayce and added on to it, and I love this community. And that's what you see from folks in Cayce. You might see multiple generations that have stayed here in Cayce, or you see folks who come here and just realize what a special place it is and they don't want to leave.
Also, my personal question, was it hard having a transition from a citizen of Cayce to the mayor of Cayce?
Good question. Was it hard? I think there's probably only two things that were hard. One was we had a tradition every year since my children were born of going and watching the nighttime Christmas parade. And so then being mayor, I had to be in the parade. So it's a little silly thing, but we always loved watching that parade. So now the kids continue to watch it because they never wanted to be on the float. They just like watching the parade, even though they're grown now. But we go and ride, and usually our float is one of the early ones, so we can hop off and then watch the rest of it with the kids.
Do you have any advice for anyone who may be out there who would like to be an elected official one day?
I would definitely say for our young people to just know that we need you, to not even think twice about it, but we need you. We need folks from all different careers and majors and interests to come and to stand up to be in elected office. An interesting tidbit that most people might not know is that we have a law that we put on the books because of a third grade class. I went and read to a third grade class here in the city, and afterwards they wrote me thank you notes. And then behind every thank you note was a position paper saying why we should allow.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience that maybe we didn't cover during this interview?
Yeah, I think one thing that is really important for everybody is to realize that your voice is important. We need everybody to use their voice. In most positions, people in elected office can win or lose by one vote. Votes matter. We need folks to get out and to vote. And sometimes that feels overwhelming to know what the right answer is or who the ethical person might be. But it's worth spending a little bit of time on to go and to figure out and to make sure to exercise your vote.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Carter Omer here with Michael, Travis, and Virgil, part of the, would you say, cleanup crew for the Cayce Riverwalk?
What would you say? Just parks?
Parks maintenance.
Parks maintenance.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for giving us time today and taking time out of your hardworking days.
Yes, sir.
And on topic of those hardworking days, what would you say is each of you's daily routine here?
Making sure the trail's clean and no trip hazards, or people like to walk, run, ride bicycles. One of the main things to be sure of.
Yeah, we usually arrive on site around 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And run to 4 o'clock.
So, as you can actually see right here next to us, it might be in the shot, it might not. But there's actually been, you said, what was it again?
A washout from the flooding.
Right. And you gentlemen have been working here, trying to fix it. And just what else do you do when there's like flooding and issues like that come across?
Well, on the upper part of the trail going back toward West Columbia, there were some areas, I mean, even in the last flood, would you say it was about 7 or 8 feet of water over the top of the trail?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when it finally subsides, it leaves tons of silt and dirt.
Yeah, usually about 5, sometimes even 8 inches of silt, which is basically mud and water.
Yep.
So we have to go through,
Scrape it.
Yeah, scrape it, clean it, pressure wash it, and
Sweep
get
it.
everything where it's safe for people to get down here and actually run and enjoy the park. So that's a job in itself.
Maybe give us 2 adjectives apiece describing how you would describe your job.
Challenging.
Challenging is good. Rewarding.
That's another good one.
The elephant in the room, the 1,000-year flood. How many problems do you think it's caused?
A lot.
A lot.
Yes.
A lot of erosion issues.
Yeah.
And up until that point, it wasn't that bad. But ever since that major flood, it seems like every month we're having to deal with an erosion issue here or there. And it's just a constant battle as of late. And there's still a good bit of places that, we haven't got to yet to clean up, like our locks down here. But yeah, even after all this time, since it's been a few years, there's still a lot of remnants from that flood.
Yeah, we had the re-grand opening of phase 2 and then had to shut it down like 2 months later because the boardwalk was literally about to fall in the river.
Once again, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for giving us our time and telling us what you actually answering the questions.
Thank you for being interested in us.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, of course. We love giving more publicity to maybe people who don't get recognized as much. And I just want to say personally, as someone who lives around here, I really do appreciate your work. Because I know
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's,
thank you.
that's what
Appreciate it.
makes it all worthwhile.
It is.
Yep,
Yep.
it does.
Because I know I wouldn't be able to do it. Thank you once again for your time. And
Thank you.
this has
Thank
been
you, and thank all y'all.
This has been Carter Ulmer, Eye on Innovation News, signing off. Thank you. Hi, I'm Carter Ulmer here from Eye on the Innovation News, here with Mr. Jerry Kirkland, the curator of the Cayce Historical Museum. Just got a few questions for you today, sir.
Yes, sir.
What intrigues you most about the history of our state in general, or just the history of Cayce?
Well, Cayce's older than Columbia, and Cayce's older than most towns in South Carolina.
Is there a certain area in this museum that you specialize in, or would say is your favorite, maybe?
The Native Americans. We have a large 8,000 piece Native American arrowheads, and tools upstairs that was donated by Mr. Watson. It is fabulous. It's one of the best in the whole Southeast, and it dates back 13,000 years. That's a long time, 13,000 years. And to know that we've been here, the Americans have been here that long, and some of the collection upstairs, he really had some of the finer pieces around the whole Southeast. I can't explain to you, but museums are built on volunteers. We don't get paid much and we don't do much, but we get volunteers, and volunteers are great. So we appreciate you putting our name out. We appreciate this very much, but we do have a lot of volunteers that help a lot.
Well, speaking on the topic of volunteers, is there a certain age range, so maybe if any of the viewers
No,
would be
sir.
interested?
No, sir. We can get them from your age up. We are doing some work right now on classifying all the artifacts upstairs, and we have people from the university right now that are helping us with classifying everything.
Well, in closing, Mr. Kirkland, is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience, or just any other notes that we haven't covered?
Well, please come by and visit us. We're open from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock, Tuesday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 to 5. And we give tours here. Let me explain. We talk to people about things. We just don't turn you loose and let you go walking around and try to figure things out. We're different here. We give tours of our museum, which a lot of people love because you learn so much more information, because this museum dates from 1760 to now. And we give tours, and it really is nice. Thank you all for coming in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Have
Thank
a
you
great day,
very much.
Mr. Kirkland.
You too.
That's all from me, Carter Ulmer, signing off.
What's the connection between you and your dog? Is it more of like a work relationship or just like a regular dog?
You know, I spend every day that I come to work with Molly. I'm with her at the house all the time. So we've definitely come pretty close.
And like they said, we're with these dogs 24/7. We spend more time with these dogs than any other living creature on this earth. So there's definitely a big bond, especially when you're depending on your dog to do what you've trained for. They're depending on you to give them the right cues. So everyone has a good bond.
Obviously, I haven't been with my dog for a long time. We definitely built a partnership and a relationship more so. She is a working tool though, but at the end of the day, she is my partner, she's my buddy. So.
What's your daily routine? Like, do your dogs have a special training, special diet, or exercise that they need to do?
As far as the diet goes, they all get fed the exact same food. It's a very high quality, high protein diet. As far as training, it's a daily, continual, and non-stop basis. If we're out here working the road and we've got some downtime, we're going to run a track. We're going to set our narcotics out and have them look for it. I mean, it's a continual process.
Does your dog have a bulletproof vest?
Our department had 3 bulletproof vests donated. They've been assigned to some of our dogs currently. And like Officer Clark said, it kind of depends on the situation. If we know there's an active shooter or someone that's most likely armed inside a building that we're going to send the dog in, that would be time to wear it. If we're going to go track, a 5-year-old in the middle of the summer that wandered away from his house, those vests, they get heavy, and that's not really a situation where we're worried about gunfire and things like that. So it's more beneficial for the dog not to wear it so they don't get weighed down and overheated.
Do you have a special vehicle for your dogs?
Yes. All of our cars, the back seats have been taken out where we would normally transport prisoners, and a kennel insert has gone in place of that. Apart from just having the kennel insert, we have a system called a heat and cold system, or heat alarm system. It constantly measures the temperature inside the vehicle, and if the temperature gets too high or too low, then it will alert us on our pagers that we keep on our person at all times. And apart from that, it will start the siren and blue lights on our vehicle. It will also roll down the windows and kick on the fan.
Did you want to become a canine officer? And if not, why were you interested in this job?
Yes, as soon as I got into law enforcement, canine was something that I was highly interested in. At the time, unfortunately, Cayce did not have a canine team, but hindsight being 2020, that allowed me to get my basic officer skills and improve to make me good where on the street where she needed me to be. And then once we got a unit, I was one of the first people to sign up for it.
Yes, from day one, I did want to be a part of the canine program. Fortunately for me, we had a spot open up and I was able to get Luna here. I think it takes a special type of person to be a canine officer. But I do agree with what Officer Clark said. I do believe you need to have some time on the street, be well-rounded in other aspects. But it's definitely a new adventure and it's been fun so far.
Welcome to Eye on Innovation. I'm Jade Velez here with Mike Dawson, the Executive Director at the River Alliance. How did this idea start off to create this River Alliance?
Well, the idea to create the River Alliance itself came out of a trip a lot of local leaders took to Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee has a river. They were using it pretty well. They had people coming down to the river. So when they got back to Columbia, they said, well, you know, why don't we think about this idea? And they looked at our rivers and said, well, we would love to do something with it, but we don't have an organization that can focus on making things happen on the river. So that's how the idea came up.
To see that it started off as just an idea and to see it reality, how does it make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good when we see people down here enjoying it. I mean, you know, we'll get, well, there are people wandering behind us right now, but I mean, we'll get 450, 500 people an hour down here on this weekend for sure. It's going to be pretty, it'll be sunny, and, you know, it'll be packed. And the idea is just to open it up. It doesn't cost anybody anything. It's for everybody, and you know, who come down and enjoy it for free and just have a good time and love the river. You know.
What's your favorite part of the river?
Yeah, if I pick one part, then you know, every time I do a new one, it's kind of my favorite part. So this one we did in 2002. I still love coming down here because, you know, the river changes every once in a while. A tree will fall down or a flower come out or something. So this is one of my special places, but they're all kind of favorite to me. We've got about 12 miles, some of which is disconnected. So if you were cruising, you know, at 4 miles an hour, you'd be about 3 miles to do it.
Do you have any kids, and do they enjoy coming down here?
Oh yeah, they love it, and all the dogs love it, and granddaughter loves it. And you know, the fun part is when you come down here, you can show it off. I mean, we see a lot of people that, you know, are here every day, but you can tell it's somebody's from out of town and they, you know, from frozen north, you know, and we're having, it's like now the basketball excitement's going on. You know, if you came from a northern clime, you're shoveling snow. Down here, we're looking at, you know, beautiful flowers and, you know, sunshine. So,
is there a special reason to creating this important place?
Yeah, people love water and they want to come down here. And we listen to a lot of folks who said, "Hey, why can't we have a place to get on the river?" I said, when we started, there were a couple of boat landings. That was about it. I mean, all this was private property, so you were trespassing when you came down here. So.
I understand that there's another phase that's under construction. Would you like to tell us about that?
Well, it's going to be around the zoo. The zoo gets about 1,000,004 people every year. All of that 3 miles on the river. It's a trout stream. It's just right on the water. I mean, this has got kind of a bluff, but in some of that, you're sitting right at the water level. And we have been working on that for about 15 years, and we'll be done this summer. So that's 3 miles, and then we've got an island out in the middle of the rivers, right in the middle of the Broad, Saluda, and Congaree. We've got a bridge out to that. We're doing a loop trail around that. That's going to be pretty slick. It'll be done this summer too. And what we think is, we'll get a lot of people still discover this. They go, well, gee, where's this river walk, and where did it come from, and how did it get here? But when we open that one up, you can't miss it from the zoo. So we figure, free advertising. We'll get everybody that goes to zoos want to go down on the river and throw a rock in and have some fun. So
Is the River Alliance nonprofit?
we are a nonprofit. We're the way you do it is you become a South Carolina corporation, which we're incorporated. We were formed by an intergovernmental agreement. So Cayce, West Columbia, Lexington, Richland County, and the state are sort of in there with some other folks. We became a South Carolina corporation, and then we became a South Carolina nonprofit corporation, and then you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork to be a federally recognized nonprofit, so that somebody could give us money, and then they can take it off on their income tax.
So fundraising, do y'all do any of that?
Oh yeah, we're always looking for money. So if you're in a nonprofit world, you're always looking to make paychecks work. So my people enjoy it when they get paid, so it's a good thing.
Is there something else that we didn't cover that you would like to add on and tell the people about?
Well, I think what you need to think about is how do you get folks who haven't discovered this to come down here? And I think that what you guys are doing is showing the river in the background and saying, hey, people are wandering by and having a good time, and come on out and enjoy it. I mean, there's nothing like taking a study break and calling it work and going down and walking on the river. Or bring your stuff down here. I mean, that's a cool thing. It's pretty quiet, and you can have a pretty good time sitting on a park bench looking at the river and pondering what you got to do on the test next week. So.